Hey, this is Andy Edge, and hay fever is kicking my behind. So let's try to stay positive and focused. Here we go. Welcome to my channel.
Time to rise, time to feel alive, time to shine, time to live your life, time to grow from your past mistakes and strive to be the best that you can be.
So this past Sunday I went to my very first Comic-Con, and for those of you who aren't aware of what Comic-Con is, it's basically a convention for all things nerdy, like, movies and comics and, video games and all that kind of stuff, but it heavily focused on comics and movies. And for the first time, since it was in Dortmund, in Germany, it was combined with another convention which is called Weekend of Hell, and Weekend of Hell is basically like the horror movie type of convention, and the venue was big enough, so they probably thought it was a good idea to combine those two conventions and share some costs, and it was indeed a good idea for sure. And the only real convention apart from anime conventions I went to in the past was Gamescom, which I went to multiple times, and it's a very, very different atmosphere in lots of ways, because at Gamescom you basically, the big focus is on video games, of course. It's one of the biggest video game conventions in the entire world, so the problem is that there's going to be very, very long lines, which can be very annoying, especially in the last year when they seem to have stuffed a lot more people inside the venue than they did before, and which causes even longer lines. You have to imagine it's like, going to the event very, very early and getting up early to queue in for the line before they open the doors, and you wait there for like 2 or 3 hours before they even let you in, and as soon as they do, everybody really storms in. And ever since last year they also had an early VIP entry in which people who had VIP passes could enter the venue 1 hour early, which caused even longer lines, and whenever you would get into the venue and you would go straight to the attraction that you wanted to go to, like the introduction of a new video game which you could play for a little bit, it would still be very long lines, and I can still remember going to my very last Gamescom, and I wanted to check out the Resident Evil 2 remake as well as the Devil May Cry game, and it was at the Xbox stand, if I remember correctly, and they already told us right at the beginning that the lines would be 5 hours long, so we were like, no, screw that, we're not having that at all, because that is just crazy, I spent one time, in a 5-hour queue to see Mass Effect 3 back then, and it was just the worst, because usually, Gamescom is in summer, and the problem is that everybody's sweating, and it's the air conditioning inside the venue is very, very bad, so it's not a fun time at all. So yeah, anyway, I've been rambling about Gamescom for a while now, and like I said, it's very, very different when it comes to Comic-Con, because I kind of expected the same, long lines and lots of people and everything, because the convention was almost sold out, if I remember correctly, and there were lots of stars there, like Charlie Sheen was there, for instance, and more on that later, by the way. And I expected it to be packed and long lines, but I was proven wrong in a lot of ways, for sure. Much to my surprise, it was actually it wasn't crowded at all, and the lines, despite being long, they were very well organized. So even if you came across a long line that you had to queue in, there was still, you didn't have to wait that long. Mostly it was I think the longest I've waited for was like 30 or 40 minutes, which is like nothing at all. And I cannot praise the organizing and the staff of the whole convention enough, because it was handled very, very professionally, and it was compared to Gamescom, which I talked about earlier, it was just like day and night, totally different. So yeah, you might ask yourself, what exactly do you do at a convention like this? You can of course meet the stars. They have several actors from movies and TV series that are popular that they invite, and they have like panels and showcases, and you can also take pictures with them, and you can get their autograph if that's what you desire. But it's not only that, it's also they have different like merchandise booths, and they have areas where you can get like out of print movies or just movies in general, which is very, very interesting. And yeah, I've never been really into like hunting celebrities and meeting stars and everything. But I have to say this time it was quite interesting because as you probably know, there's something special about meeting some of your heroes, and this time around there were some really, really cool actors which I wanted to get a picture with. And needless to say, it cost me a lot, and I spent a lot of money there. I don't even want to get into how much I actually spent there because it's ridiculous. But just as they say, if you have a chance, you might as well take it, because that's what I'm all about. So the first person I met and took a picture with was Kevin Nash, who's like a pro wrestler, and back then, way back in the day, I was a really, really huge pro wrestling fan, and I still occasionally watch it, but not as much as I used to. But I still remember Kevin Nash being one of my favorites, and he was known in WWF back then as Diesel. So maybe you are familiar with that if you're if you watched it back then in the time when wrestling had kind of like an uprise in the early 90s. But yeah, this guy is so huge, like compared to me, and I consider myself to be quite a tall person, but compared to Kevin Nash, it was nothing at all, and it was pretty cool to meet him. He also had like a panel about pro wrestling, but we didn't really go to that because we had so many other things to do, and time was limited, so it can't be helped. Yeah, so apart from meeting Kevin Nash, I also had the pleasure of meeting Dolph Lundgren, which you might not be familiar with, but if you've seen Rocky 4, he was basically Ivan Drago. So yeah, that was pretty cool, and he really, he seemed to have a really, really good time taking those pictures. And if you go into the photo booth with the stars, you don't really have that much because it's mostly like okay, take a picture and move along, take a picture and move along kind of thing. So you can basically say 2 or 3 things to them if you desire to do so. But he seemed to me like he really had a good time, and he's an amazing actor. He also played the Punisher. So it was pretty cool to meet him and be face to face with Ivan freaking Drago. But yeah, people who know me and my taste in movies know that I'm really, really fascinated, and I'm basically a fanboy of the Saw movies. Which if you're familiar with that kind of stuff, it's very, very they're very violent movies, and lots of people like them because of that fact. But I seem to be the person with the unpopular opinion, as I am most of the time, because I really like the movie series for psychological reasons. Because there's like a plot hidden behind all the violence, and yeah, I just really enjoy the train of thought that goes behind the main villain, Tobin Bell, aka Jigsaw, and the thing, putting people through like violent tests to see to test their will to survive and everything. And I will not go into detail and elaborate about the whole story and all that kind of stuff. But I really enjoyed it a lot, and it was pretty cool. I had the chance to meet like most of the main villains, like Tobin Bell, Shawnee Smith, who plays Amanda in Saw, who is an amazing actress, by the way, and very, very underrated in my opinion. She also played in a sitcom called Becker, which is not known that much, but I really enjoyed it. It also features Ted Danson, and it's about a doctor in Brooklyn who is always like really, really cranky, and Shawnee Smith basically plays like one of the main roles as well, and she's basically the airhead of the series, and it's great. You should give it a go if you can get a hold of it. And yeah, I also had the pleasure of meeting Costas Mandylor, which is also who's also part of the Saw movies as one of the main villains in the later parts. And he, out of probably everyone I met, was the most energetic during the photos. Like, he really seemed to have a really good time, and he was always joking around with everyone, and he seems to be like a really, really cool dude. And yeah, despite the high price of getting a picture or an autograph, I felt like I had to do it, and I had to also meet Charlie Sheen. And to be quite honest with you, I don't regret it a single bit. It was really, really cool to stand next to and be face to face with one character that made you laugh so many times, and you've seen in so many movies, and despite everyone making fun of him because of his antics and his problems in the past, you shouldn't forget that And the actors and celebrities are people too, and they all have their problems. The problem with celebrities is that they're always in the spotlight, basically, and true to our current society, the problem is that, if you mess up, as a person, then everybody's making fun of you and everything goes on the internet, immediately. And with actors, it's, even worse because they have paparazzi and people, like chasing them the entire time. So if they lose their cool for 1 second, it's going to be all over the news. So yeah, I can definitely understand it. And, I don't have any ill thoughts about Charlie Sheen because I think deep down he's actually a good person. And he also, seemed to have solved his problems a lot. And, he's gotten back with his family. I think deep down his attitude is really, really good, like basically make it through life and, be positive all the time, which I can definitely agree with. Yeah, in my opinion, people shouldn't be so hard on him. But yeah, anyway, as I said in the beginning, besides meeting all the stars and taking pictures and getting autographs and all that kind of stuff, there's also different areas where you can get out-of-print movies or movies in general. And I spent a lot of money there. I don't even want to go into detail how much I spent there. It's great because they have so many out-of-print media books and all that kind of stuff, and you can spend all day there just browsing around and finding cool stuff that you've been looking for a while, which you cannot get anymore because it's not printed anymore and the prices on eBay are outrageous. So that was really amazing. But to be quite honest with you, I'm happy that conventions like that are only twice or 3 times a year because it really does eat your money a lot of times. But yeah, anyway, I've been getting into way too much detail again. I actually wanted to keep this video short because I have a lot of things to edit before my vacation, which is coming up in a few days. But yeah, it turns out there's still a couple of things that I wanted to say. So, but yeah, anyway, I'm gonna stop here. So, have you been to Comic-Con before or any other movie convention? I would like to hear stories about that one, so be sure to write it in the comments if you want to, or let me know in direct messages or email me. And if you didn't do it, I would highly recommend that you do it, so give this one a go. I think the next Comic-Con in Dortmund is going to be in either November or December. There's also going to be a Weekend of Hell. I'm not quite sure of the exact dates, and there's also like in other parts of Europe and around the world there's several Comic-Cons. So yeah, if you're into that, then give this one a go. But be sure to secure your tickets early on because they get more expensive over time. But yeah, anyway, thanks for watching this video and I hope to see you in the next one. Take care of yourself. Bye bye.